Hi, and welcome to Financial Planning Innovation. My name is Marc Glickman. I'm an actuary, and it's my pleasure to have on the line Jim Silbernagel. Jim's a comprehensive financial planner. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, it's my pleasure.
So, Jim, how did you get into the whole comprehensive financial planning and insurance space?
Well, I started out in the business 35 years ago, helping people with Medicare supplements. That kind of got into long-term care. Shortly after that, I got my securities license, started doing investments. And, I learned early in the game. I'm in a marital property state, which we call marital. There's community property states. Mark, I know you're in a community property state. And we had switched over to that in 1986. And what a lot of attorneys did is have people opt out while they tried to figure out where the dust would settle. And when they did that, the big thing in our area is what's mine is mine, what's hers is hers. Each one had separate checkbooks. They paid their separate bills. But having worked with them on their insurance and starting to work with them on their investments, if one of them got sick and they didn't have the ability to deal with the other person's checkbook, well, now they weren't available to pay those bills. So if they got sick or passed away, then we had things stuck in probate. So I found out there's these things called powers of attorney and trust where you could maintain control in the family. So we got involved in that, and it's just kind of one thing after another. But I'll tell you what, when I first started learning about that stuff, I got dragged kicking and screaming. I knew it was something I needed to learn about, but oh my God, did it make my head spin.
Right. And I know, back in the day, it was more product oriented, it's more transactional of a process. And that shifted now to more of a consultative approach and solution orientation. And so I wanted to talk to you today about this concept that you came up with, the family meeting concept. What was the origin of that becoming something that was a big part of your practice?
Well, the toughest thing for me to see is where family members won't speak to each other anymore. And it's even worse when they don't even remember why. Because mom and dad were the glue that kept everything together. And then because of a lack of communication, a lack of understanding, and, when I first got in the business, it was like impolite to talk to your kids about money issues. So I saw the disastrous effects of that. Now, when I first was starting out and thought that this would be a good idea, I tell my clients, this is a good idea. We should have a family meeting. If you'd ever want to have one, just let me know and we'll schedule it. And guess how many of those meetings I had?
Not too many, huh?
Zero, because the kids are too busy and this is happening, that's happening. So it's just no way we can do it. Well, this is a priority. It took the family all their lives, the mom and dad, all their lives to build and save and work hard and all that to have what they have. And, to not be important enough. I mean, people will take off a half a day to go to their doctor, their dentist. They'll take off time to go on vacation early or whatever it is. Well, this is just as important, if not more important than all those things. So, so the thing is, I changed my practice after having some disastrous results of the lack of having this family meeting. I now, if clients want to engage me, it's now a requirement that they agree. It may not be right away because the kids might be too young, but if they're, we said we'll agree that we are going to have a family meeting. And the way we get the kids in there, we say, hey, I have the parents call and say, hey, we're working on our estate plan. If you'd like to be part of it, you need to be at this meeting. And we're batting almost 100% now.
That's awesome. And, I do a lot more work with people on long-term care planning, and our specialists that we work with, we do a lot online. And so it's great to be able to send out a conference call number, invite the spouses especially, but also the kids into that meeting, and having a family conversation can be much more meaningful, like you were describing.
Oh, absolutely. Technology has broken down a lot of barriers. I still tell them if there's any way they can all be present, we'll make sure that they're all paying attention and we can interact better. But if we can't do that, the technology today, like we're doing today, video teleconferencing, and it's free. I mean, it's just amazing what technology has brought to us. It really gives us the ability to connect and communicate in a way we never were before.
Absolutely. Let's talk about a client that you worked with where you brought this family meeting concept to the table and kind of the outcome of that. Anybody come to mind that you can think of where this was a really relevant topic of the conversation?
Well, I've had a number of people where the success has been there. and there's not a lot of big stories. Everything just kind of worked out as planned,
Mm-hmm.
But the opposite, I have some stories that I think your listeners can appreciate,
Mm-hmm.
and this is one of the things that drove me, or one of the situations that drove me to be more proactive on making this happen. I had a client of mine who we set up long-term care insurance with, and it doesn't necessarily need to be long-term care insurance, but it was long-term care. And this guy was so proud of the purchase that he had a group of couples that him and his wife would all get together with on a regular basis, like once a month, like a card club or something like that. But he had me do a seminar for all the couples because he was so proud of his purchase. And so fast forward several years, I even brought this guy along ice fishing in northern Minnesota when he was about 83 or 84 years old, and with my kids. I mean, I've known this guy for a long time. He was part of my Great Lakes Fishing Club. Just a really good guy and very active. He went hunting for grizzly bear with a bow and arrow on some island up in Canada when he was 80 years old. I mean, this guy was in great shape. And but at any rate, once he was like 83 or 84, he called me up and said he wanted to cancel long-term care insurance. And I'm like, man, you're getting to the age where it's going to be more likely you might use this. And he said, you know what? He was a gold medal Olympic swimmer in the senior Olympics at the over 70 age group. And he was like 83 at the time that he won the gold medal. He said, I'm so healthy, I will never need long-term care. I said, well, what about your wife? Well, she's healthy too, and I said, let me talk to one of your kids about this. And he's like, no, it's my decision. I'm canceling it. Well, you probably know the rest of the story, or I wouldn't be telling it. A couple of years later, he had a massive stroke that would have killed most people. But because he was in such good health, he survived for 6 years. And we ended up doing some Title 19 planning. We were able to safeguard some of the assets, but a good chunk of his assets were wiped out. And now those assets aren't available for his wife anymore. So now, if she needs long-term care, her choices are going to be very limited because there's not the resources that were available when he was living. So the thing is, if we would have had a family meeting, because his family members are clients of mine as well, and I know they would have paid for the long-term care insurance if they knew he wanted to drop it. And if we would have had that family meeting and discussed the importance of it, I don't think it would have gotten to this point. As a matter of fact, I'm very confident it wouldn't have happened. And one of the practices I've changed now is I ask the people permission that can I talk to some trusted member of your family if you might not be thinking straight, so that we can avoid that ever happening again. So I can discuss time and time again where it was a problem, but I'll tell you what, when we have the family meetings, one of the things that usually comes up is, why did you pick Johnny or Susie to be the one to take care of things? You're playing favorites. No, we're sticking them with a responsibility. And so helping them to understand, because it's not so much the problems that happen between the siblings as much as the people they're sleeping with, their spouses, that are saying, why'd you pick this one or why'd you pick that one? And they're playing favorites. And I've heard these stories, and I just know all the contention based on misconceptions, miscommunications, or a lack thereof. So a lot of that can be avoided by just having some communication.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing this story and also this concept, obviously the family meeting concept. And I know you have so much to share. I would love to have you on future episodes. Thanks so much for your time.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.